Hello and welcome to Get Yourself Optimized. I'm excited to have Steve Sims with us. Do you know anyone that's worked with Sir Elton John or Elon Musk, sent people down to see the wreck of the Titanic on the seabed, or closed museums in Florence for a private dinner party, and then had Andre Bocelli serenade them while they eat their pasta? Well, you do now, because our guest today is Steve Sims, who's made all of that happen. Steve is quoted as the real-life Wizard of Oz by Forbes and Entrepreneur magazines. Steve is a best-selling author of the book Bluefishing, The Art of Making Things Happen. He's a sought-after coach and a speaker at a variety of networks, groups, and associations, as well as the Pentagon and Harvard twice. Steve, it's great to have you on the show.
Thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
So, how did you get into this business of like hooking people up with the most amazing experiences that you might only be able to dream of?
Wow, I didn't is the short answer. I never wanted to do that. I'm not particularly approachable. I'm not the kind of guy that, you meet in a room and you go, hey, I want to go and talk to that guy. I ride around on motorcycles. I've got eyebrow piercings, earrings, tattoos. I'm the guy you avoid. But the funny thing that happened was that growing up in East London as a bricklayer, I was poor. I had no money. I used to go into the pub and all of us would throw their coins on the table to see how many beers we could afford. And then we would, share them out between everyone else. It was just that kind of life. And I realized at my time, and they always say that you are the combination of the 5 friends you have. I always believed that, you are part of the room you're in. So I thought to myself, every room I'm in is full of broke bikers. So I need to change the room. I need to change my environment. I need to change my surroundings if I want to change. And so quite simply, I wanted to talk to rich people. And this was back in the 80s and 90s. So we didn't have something as easy as, say, Facebook groups to be able to do it. We didn't have networking groups. We didn't have like the Genius Network, Joe Polish's group that we're both mutual friends of. We didn't have any of those environments. So I physically needed to be in a different room. And weirdly enough, I found that room to be nightclubs. Now, I couldn't afford to go in the nightclub, but they did want a big, scary doorman. So I ended up being the doorman for these nightclubs and just being able to talk to affluent people. And it started off, I needed to give them a reason to talk to me. And so it started off that I knew where all the best parties were. I knew where all the best clubs were. And then I went from knowing where they were to doing my own little clubs to taking over yachts and throwing parties on their mansions. And I went from being a doorman throwing kind of after hours parties to working from everyone from the Grammys to Kentucky Derby and the New York Fashion Week.
Wow. And then you ended up writing a book about it. So what inspired you to write a book about the magic that you have been able to figure out?
Yeah, well, look, when you're in a room of wonderful people, wonderful things can only happen. And so I was in a room, I got chatting with Tucker Max, who's a GN member, and he started talking about writing a book, and I was like, oh, I could never do that. And he introduced me to an agent, and the agent said, next time in New York, let's have a couple of meetings. We had a couple of meetings with coffee. I met this woman. And before I knew it, and I know there's going to be a lot of authors out there that hate this story, but I never went out to write a book. I literally just went and had a coffee with someone, and then a week later I got offered a deal. Now, the deal was pretty low on the money, but Jay Abraham, we mentioned Jay earlier. Jay's a friend of mine just down the road from me here in Los Angeles. Jay helped me with the negotiations, shall we say. So I ended up getting a very, very, very good paycheck up front, very heavily front end loaded. And before you knew it, I had a book. And the dumb thing was, when I realized I was paid, so I didn't carry any worry about, what am I going to do to make money? I had already got paid. My business was good. I thought to myself, well, this now gives me the chance to write the book on how a 15-year-old bricklayer from East London riding around on a motorbike, terrifying grannies, can now be shutting down museums and becoming the Make-A-Wish Foundation for people with really big checkbooks. It gave me the chance to actually put that on paper. And so it became fun to try and get people to go, hey, you don't have to believe all the bullshit and hype and the parameters and the fear that you've encouraged yourself to believe in. You can do things differently. And so I wrote the book, but the daft thing is I didn't even have a website. I honestly didn't know if anyone would like the book. So we did the book, released the book, did a launch party in a whiskey bar in Hollywood. Didn't do it in Barnes & Noble or anything like that. And I didn't have a website. They phoned me up and said, you've got to get a web page up. So we put up one page. For 2 months, nothing really happened. And then it just went crazy. Everyone started buying it. Everyone started joining me on Facebook. We started a Facebook group. And then people were paying me to speak at all of these events. And then they were following me. So basically, the monster was unleashed. And then we had to kind of feed it with whatever we could. So we did an Inner Circle Sims Distillery private membership group. We did a free one called an Entrepreneur's Advantage, which is a free Facebook group, and just tried to feed the monster that we had created, because people were now looking at it and going, well, hang on a minute. And this is quite, and I don't take any disrespect with this. If you can be doing this, so can I. And that's what I wanted people to be able to believe.
That's great. Did you build the website or the one-page website at bluefishing.com? I hope you did, because that would make sense.
No.
Yeah.
It would make sense, but
and while I was saying that, I was actually checking, and it actually is owned by a domainer right now. You should buy it.
No, it was crazy. We didn't put any thought behind it, so we literally just luckily my name was available, Steve D. Sims. So. And I didn't know if I was going to write another book, but one of my key things in life is never to do anything that enforces a limitation. So if I opened up the domain Bluefishing and focused on the book instead of me, the author, then I'd have to do another domain if a second book came out. Now, the sensible person says, well, you buy both. But I didn't have the chance to buy Bluefishing. Someone already had. So I just put my energy behind pushing my name and having it work from there. And it did. So the first page went up just on my name, and then we added other pages to it. We didn't do any SEO. We didn't do any pixelation. And then after a year, when we went from, I think it was, and I remember this because I went up to Simon Schuster in New York, and they moaned at me because I had 16 followers on Instagram. And they said to me, for this to take off, you need way more than 16. And here's the daft thing. I had just done an 8-page article in Forbes, and this girl in Simon Schuster looked at me and she said, that's nice, but no one reads Forbes. And I was like, so I went out and I started, I hired a digital marketing firm to start focusing on my social. And the social got up to about 2,500 followers. And it was all these kind of memes and these statements and basically nothing that I would ever say. It just didn't work. So I actually turned around and I said, no. I've just got 2,500 fans that I have nothing in common with. So I got rid of them and I just started posting. So if there's me having a drink of whiskey in Poland, I'd stick a picture up of it. If there's me thinking this doesn't work and I have my own kind of quote or meme, I would just throw that up, sometimes very badly spelt. And it resonated with people. And so, I think I'm on 50. I looked at it this morning, actually. So it's like 54,000 something on Instagram. So it just grew itself. And so I had to add some power behind it. So now I've got SEO. Now I've got pixelation, but I certainly didn't have that in the beginning.
Well, good for you. And you could still buy bluefishing.com. It looks like the minimum offer on that's $54,000. So I don't know if you want to spend that, but
I'll buy another couple of motorbikes.
Okay, good plan. So where does like the Rob Report and these other kind of affluent media outlets and so forth, where do they fit into the picture in terms of trying to reach the ultra wealthy and get some offer, some product, some service in front of them? Does the Rob Report even still work as a place to do that, or how do you reach these people?
So the answer is yes and no. It really depends. See, everyone needs media because there's nothing better than riding in on the credibility of someone else saying that you're good. And this is where I come into my promotion and my coaching regarding don't brand. You see, people try to, they set up a company, they set up a product, and then the first thing they try to do, and I say try, is they try to brand the company a certain way. Now, the trouble is people don't understand what branding is. Branding isn't what you say, it's what people say about you when you've left the room. That's branding. And so having good branding is also credibility. If the Rob Report say, hey, this is the most handsome guy in the world, you've got credibility straight away. You may not be the most handsome, me certainly not, but if the Rob Report said I was, you'd believe it, So you've got to understand what you're doing with your product. Who do you want to see your product with? And then go and tune your message with the appropriate platform. So when I had my concierge firm and I was reaching the most affluent people, it was pointless for me to do, say, a podcast, because the podcast would have 20,000 subscribers, but my concierge company, it actually only had 93 clients, and they all happened to be billionaires. Okay, so a podcast was not where you would go to attract billionaires. You would go to conferences, conventions, and get the Ivy League, those things that are related to supreme luxury. So, getting you written up in Worth magazine, getting an article in the Rob Report. And so what you do is you contact these magazines and you say, interesting article on XYZ. I did something similar when I did ABC, and you offer them. So you basically flatter them about the what they've said in the past, and then offer. And the good thing about it was the media is lazy. We know the media is lazy. And so if you can get Content Fly or a good writer to write an article about you, and you actually send it with your email, then you've done half of the work for lazy media. And before the bloggers and the media people out there go, oh, that's not true, bullshit. You're lazy because you've got to get an article not out once a month, once every hour. You've got to get something out there nowadays. So it's a tough industry to be in. You've got to make it, as the person trying to get the media, as easy as possible for them to go, oh, I like that. Thank you for the article. Thank you for the Dropbox link of all the pictures. Thank you. You've got to do that kind of thing. So in the concierge business, I would go out and I would get publications and TV. Like there used to be Fine Living was a great program on TV, which was like the online version of the Rob Report, the life of the rich and famous, all those kind of things. But now the book's out there and I'm working with entrepreneurs and trying to get them to break the shackles and parameters of their own self-belief. Now I'm doing podcasts. Podcasts are without a doubt the best marketing platform for authors, influencers, thought leaders, and as I say, creative disruptors. So you've got to know the message you're trying to produce and who it goes to. And I am stunned at how many people have a product and then market it in the wrong media.
Right. Yeah, I was actually had this kind of epiphany a few years ago. I speak at a lot of conferences, and one of the things I did was I essentially trained my competitors. I mean, I do that through this 1,000-page book that you actually have a copy of, or I think you gave it to a colleague.
Yeah.
He said, "I'm not going to open that." But anyways, this is a great service to my competitors. And then speaking at conferences, I'm also training them there. And I realized, no, I need my ideal clients and prospects filling all the seats. And so I changed some of the session topics that I would pitch conference producers to things like how to scale SEO across a very large website. So who has a very large website? Typically bigger businesses that have a lot of budget. So that would end up filling the room with a lot more of my ideal client avatar. So that made a lot of sense, and it didn't dawn on me until just a few years ago. And I've been doing the speaking circuit for decades now. So yeah, it's better late than never, though.
Yeah, I'm always amazed. You do get clients, or I get clients come to me and they go, "Hey, I've got this product." And when you look at the tonality and the message that they're sending, they're marketing to poor people. Now, before everyone leaps up and wants to throw your toys at me, we all know what it's like to be poor. We know what that's like. We've all felt it, or most of us have felt it. So it's a very relatable emotion. Not a lot of people know what it's like to be a multimillionaire and not have to worry about the next year of your mortgage. So it's harder for them people to be able to get into the mentality of millionaires. But let's be serious. If you're trying to sell something, why would you market it to someone that can't afford you? So what I always did is whenever I got into marketing, and even with my courses and even with my speakeasy, my events that I do, I always market them to people. The money won't be the question, the value will. So I always focus on value, but first of all, look at affordability. Very, very stunned at why people market to people that really shouldn't even be in your sandpit.
Yeah, good point. So you have courses, you have events, and you have an inner circle. That's quite a bit different of a business model from a high-end concierge service that has 93 billionaires as its clients. How did that happen?
Yeah, no, it's so two things. And I believe you probably know both of these people. So Jay's been with me. I knew Jay Abraham before I knew he was Jay Abraham. Now, I know that sounds a funny thing, but I was working for Jay when he was a client. Well, he is a client of our concierge firm. But I never knew him as the mythical icon of business that he is. But as I got to know him and then discovered that, by that time, I already had a friendship with him. So it was a beautiful way that it transitioned that way. But Jay used to say to me that I have a greater ICANN than an IQ, which was a polite way of saying that I go and try it, fail, but then I've learned how it worked or it didn't work. And Ari Meisel always used to say to me, get going, then get good. So we released the book. I put my effort and energy into the book. I didn't put my effort and energy into marketing the book. And we're actually celebrating now 3 years of this book. So it's happened really fast and it's gone really quick. But all of a sudden, I found that there was a lot of people that wanted to try different things on the menu before they ordered the chef special. And so you need an appetizer, then you need like a shared plate, and then you need an entree before they move up. So I gave them a free Facebook page, and I do a podcast, The Art of Making Things Happen, where people could taste me for free. They would understand what I'm saying, who I am, what I look like. Hey, if that relates, where do we go next to get something a bit more? And I realized many, many years ago, if they don't pay, they don't pay attention. And so quite simply, I went, okay, this is fair enough. This is free of charge. And like with any group, my biggest number is my free group. An Entrepreneur's Advantage, that's my biggest number. Instagram, my bigger number, 54,000. People will look at you and people love what you have to say until they have to pay. And that's fine. So I put a little group together, which is my inner circle, simsdistillery.com, and it's $97 a quarter or $300 a year, okay? But it's a commitment. So once I see that you've committed to me by simply paying, then you get into a different area where you get more of me. You get some of the hidden secrets. And then I put an event together called the Speakeasy, and that's $2,000 to attend, and you don't know anyone who's going to go. You're literally given no information other than the city and the hotel you're staying at. And I never do more than 40 people attend. And that started selling well. So then I was working, what do you need? What do you want? And I noticed, again, a lot of people, they market forward. I market in reverse. If you want a cake, what color cake do you want? What kind of taste? And then I will make the cake. So everything that I do, I say to you, hey, you like following me? You like speaking with me? What do you want? And they go, well, I'd like you to do live AMAs with your friends. I'd like you to do this. I'd like you to do that. Okay, I'll do that. And this is the price ticket. And then people would get bored. So I always ask people, what do you need? What do you want? What's going to create the impact for you, rather than trying to say, hey, buy me, because you too can be great. You too can be bold. You too can be British. You know, I didn't want to sell that way. So I tried to solve rather than sell, and it's just grown. And now I have these different little points to get into. And here's the dumb thing. Anyone listening to this should be doing what I'm doing. I'm not the sharpest tool in the shed. I just do it. And I try it, and I have failed at so many things, but I haven't failed at this. These are working. So if you're out there and you're wondering, how do I build up a community? For a start, ask the community that you have, what do they want? And then start providing that. You'll find that you'll get a lot more from the word of mouth, which again is that branding that you need.
Yeah, that's great. And what would be an example of a speakeasy event that was really memorable and powerful for those who attended?
Well, so, and again, I'm asking everyone out there to replicate this, okay? This is not proprietary. I'm not going to scream at you. Please, please, please copycat what I'm doing, because it works. I literally decided to put an event on, and so I put a web page together at simsspeakeasy.com, and it just says Speakeasy on these 2 dates, and the next one's in San Diego. The last one was in Nashville. The one before that was in Vegas. The one before that was in Reno. And on this, and you can see this, you should look up the website. I am urging you to not to join, but to just see how cheeky it is. It literally just says the date, and then it says $2,000, and then it's click to purchase. I don't give you any information whatsoever, but then when you join, you get one of our team contact you going, hey, thank you, Stephan, for joining up. Why did you do that, and what's your problem? And we want to know what you need. And then I go to my friends, I go to my connections, and I wrap the event around you. So when we had it in Los Angeles, I said to everyone, what's the problem? It was things like, I want to write a book. I want to become more credible within my industry. And I'm not talking about thought leaders. I'm talking about people from plumbing. I've got a client that owns a big plumbing company, real estate investors, realtors, mortgage loan officers, authors, speakers. The gamut and range of my crowd is wide. And I say to them, what do you need? And then I bring people in. So when we had it in Los Angeles, there was a lot of talk about how do I do more video, and how do I How do I make sure my audio is good? I took over the Gower Studios on on Sunset Boulevard, and we held it in one of Frank Sinatra's studios. So I always take things, how can I take it a bit far? When we talked about new technology, I did it in Reno, and I took everyone for a private tour of Elon Musk's Gigafactory. When we did it in Vegas, I actually had the Vegas police force talk to us about communication, because so many international people go into Vegas, and it's all different cultures. So how do you handle communicating? When we did it in Nashville, I took them into the Country Music Radio Association to talk about how country music builds loyalty. And I took it into Mitchell Binder, who does all of the jewelry for all of the musicians all over the world, on how to create this loyalty of them going to your jewelry. So I always have very interesting locations and very interesting people, and the topics that matter to you to answer your problems. And there's never more than 40 people in it. And if you go to the website, you'll see it's terrible for marketing. It literally just goes, here it is on this day, pay me $2,000. And we tell you nothing about it.
It's like buying a mystery box.
Well, that's why it's called the speakeasy. When I first did it, I wanted to test it. Again, I wanted to challenge my credibility. So I literally said, hey, I'm going to do one. This was 2.5 years ago now. I said, I'm going to do one in July, 2 days, and you'll chat with me for 2 days, and I'll have some friends show up. But I'm not going to tell you who. I didn't know who was going to turn up, so I couldn't tell you who. $2,000. And so, $2,000's not cheap for 2 days. So I needed to make sure I brought value in. And then I would phone up everyone and go, hey, you've just paid me $2,000 and you have no idea what's going on. Why'd you do that? What's your problem? I found, first of all, they really liked the fact that we were sculpting the event to them. Now, don't get me wrong. There's a lot of events where I actually have to refund people because their questions don't fit in with the people that are coming to the event. But it means that everyone in the room has a problem that I'm going to solve during those 2 days. And it was a client, it was an attendee that turned around and said, hey, Steve, this is just like a speakeasy. You get a password, you get a secret door, but you don't know anything else. Mm-hmm. And because people know I like whiskey, it just made complete sense. So we started calling it the Sim Speakeasy, and it just grew from there.
Yeah, that's cool. You really pay attention to the experience. It's not just the learning or the education. It's an experiential learning journey. And that reminds me of one of the masterminds I'm in. Specifically, it's Neil Strauss's mastermind. It's called The Society.
Oh, Neil. Yep.
Yeah. And
yeah, I know Neil very well. Yeah.
Okay, so you probably know about some of these intensives. I've been in his group for, I don't know, 7 years or so. I spoke at his second ever intensive, and then I had so much fun I stayed the rest of the event and decided to join, and had been a member for like 7 years. And one of my favorite intensives was when he brought in these experts on how to avoid bounty hunters and getting kidnapped and all this sort of stuff. You would learn how to start a car with a jiggler key, how to break out of zip ties, how to pick handcuff locks and pick door locks and padlocks and everything. I learned all this stuff over a couple of days, and then on that last day, he had everyone compete in teams of 3 to avoid getting kidnapped. Well, first of all, you started the day by getting kidnapped. You got hooded, put into one of those white windowless serial killer type vans, and they took you to an unknown part of LA that you couldn't see because you were hooded. No, and they were randomly tasing some of us too. Thankfully, I didn't get tased. The guy next to me did, though. And we had to follow these clues and avoid the bounty hunters. First of all, we had to break out of the van. We had to escape out of the van. So they conveniently went and got a coffee and left us in the van, handcuffed to the van. So we had to pick the locks, pick the handcuffs, get out of the van, ask for rides from random strangers. That's another thing is they took all of our money and credit cards and ID and everything, cell phones too. I think we didn't have any way to pay for anything, so we had to ask for money. I'd never asked for money before. Just going up to people and saying, "Hey, can I get $5?" You'd be surprised how many people just say, "Yeah, sure." As long as you don't look like you need it, people are happy to give it to you. It's just the weirdest thing. So, yeah, that's an experience right there. That was pretty incredible. Oh, and my team came in first place. So we beat everybody else.
Well done.
Yeah. So I got to ask you, like, some of the crazy, outlandish, amazing, kind of once-in-a-lifetime experiences that you have created for some of your ultra wealthy clients. Like, regale us with some crazy stories.
Well, I've sent people down to see the Titanic on the seabed. I've had people cosmonaut training in Russia. I've had people learning to play the drums by Guns N' Roses. I stuck another Genius Network member on stage to sing with the rock band Journey. I've had guitar lessons by ZZ Top. Walking the white carpet as a guest of Sir Elton John at his Oscar party. I've done all of those things, plus thousands more. You want a story? All right, trying to think of the conversation, so the story I can give you. Going above and beyond what a client wants. That's always the key now. We're in a transactional world where, we've got used to going, hey, Siri, hey, Alexa, Amazon. We are ordering, we're on transactions now. Excuse me. And so I've noticed that if you can fulfill a transaction, then you're seconds away from Amazon taking your job. What we've got to do today is everything that Amazon does and then everything Amazon doesn't do. And it doesn't create and dream on a desire. It doesn't have those fundamentals yet. So I had a client of mine contact me. I was actually working out of Rome at the time, doing something with the Vatican. And he knew I was over there. So he contacted me and he said, I'm going to Florence. I need you to set something up to impress my future mother-in-law and father-in-law. Create a great experience for me. That was it. When someone's been working with me, they know to say as little as possible and just let me go. So it was that last word. He wanted an experience and he wanted to impress his mother-in-law and father-in-law. So what I did was I took over the Accademia di Galleria Museum in Florence. And it's the famous museum that holds inside Michelangelo's David. The oldest, most iconic statue in the planet, beats, the Statue of Liberty for worldwide recognition. And so it's housed in Florence. So I took over the entire museum from 3 o'clock in the afternoon till 2 o'clock in the morning. I set up a red carpet from the front door with rose petals on it, a dining table, some candlesticks on there. I had a string quartet in the corner. The client turns up, the doors open, they came in, they had the whole museum to themselves. And then as they're eating their pasta, I interrupted the string quartet and I brought in Andrea Bocelli to serenade them while they ate their food. So I took what I was asked for and I wanted to see how far I could take it. Now, the dumb thing is, no matter how far you try and fail, you always end up a lot further than the client originally asked you for. Mm-hmm. Never give them what they asked for. Give them what they desire and dream of. And many, many, many times I fail. Many times, millions of times I fail, but I get something pretty good, that overwhelms the client. This was one of those times when nothing failed. I wanted the Accademia di Galleria. I got it. I wanted Andrea to turn up. I got it. It was just weird how everything I asked for in Florence, I got. And it's amazing. The more you ask, and I've got a second story that maybe I should help you with. But the more you ask, the more you achieve. Now, when I wanted the academia, I didn't know anybody within that museum in Florence. But some of my clients, very powerful people in Italy, had connections with the museum. So I got them to ask for me. And again, I rode in on their credibility. So the museum said yes, not because of who I was, but because who had made the introduction. Okay. So when they said yes, they introduced me to the head curator to facilitate it. Now, what you need to understand is I got this request on a Sunday afternoon from the client. The dinner was Wednesday night. So I had 3 days to pull this off, okay? And I didn't start making phone calls until Monday morning, okay? Luckily, by Tuesday morning, I had the Galleria. So when I went up to the curator, because I went down by train from Rome, when I saw the curator, I'd be like, oh, so can we bring the table in at like 6 o'clock? He would literally go, yeah, it should be okay. Now, I don't want a should be okay. I want a yes, or no. I can handle either one of those, but the should be okay, could be okay, possibly. I couldn't put up with that crap. But this guy made my life hell for 2 days. So on the night, 6 o'clock in the evening, the clients were turning up at 9. The chef was getting everything prepared. The decorators were getting the table ready. They had laid the carpet out. They had got the buds in a big box, getting ready for them to be put out. They didn't want to put them out too early. They didn't want them to dry out. The string quartet was practicing. Andrea Bocelli was in the corner just getting ready with his son, who was on the piano. While this is all going on, and I'm watching this spectacle that I had put together at the feet of David in a museum where I was literally wandering around to my heart's content because I owned it for like 6 hours, I saw the curator. So I invited the curator to come over and stand next to me. And he did. He came over. He was a smaller guy, had his arms crossed, didn't really want to talk to me. And I got the idea, didn't really like me. So I said to him, I went, God, look at that table. Is that a beautiful table at the feet of Michelangelo's David? Is that not the most beautiful table in the world? And he literally, without looking at me, he went, yes, it is. It is beautiful. I apologize about my accent, but I don't care. And then I said to him, and look at this. We've got a string quartet that's going to be, ambience music while the clients are walking around the museum that they are the only people in. Isn't that wonderful? And he went, yes, it is wonderful. And I said, and on top of all of this, we've got the iconic Andrea Bocelli that is going to serenade you while you're eating your pasta. Is that not the epitome, the quintessential best way to have an Italian meal? And he went, yes, it is. So I had got affirmation out of him 3 times. Now I wanted to give him a slap. So I looked at him and I went, so why do you think I managed to pull this off when it's never happened before? And this is where I was expecting him to go, no one's as connected as you. No one knows how to negotiate. I wanted something like that just to upset him and make me feel like a bigger person. Yes, it's immature, but hey, I'm an immature little prick. But the guy turned around to me and simply said, no one's ever asked. And it killed me. I actually, that fellow, I haven't given you his name because I went from hating him for 2 days to him now being one of my dearest friends in Italy. And we've met so many times, and I've WhatsApped him during COVID. We went out afterwards and had a Florentine steak. But the point was, I realized that I got all of these wonderful things because I asked. Mm. And many people, they don't get what they want because they fail to ask. And when I came back to LA, I started phoning up the Pentagon. I started phoning up Harvard. I started phoning up Warner Brothers. I started phoning up Paramount, asking, hey, how are you? Do you remember when we did this 5 years ago? And they were like, yeah, it was great. And I was like, I was just wondering, how come we did it? The answer was exactly the same every time. Well, you asked, Steve. The
Hmm.
bottom line of it is, most people don't ask for what they dream of. They ask for what they feel they can achieve. And believe it or not, they're totally different.
Yeah.
You should always ask for what you desire. Ask for what you dream of. And as I say, go for stupid. Go for the most outlandish, ridiculous, stupid result that you don't think is achievable. But guess what? You may just get if you ask.
Wow. Okay. Well, I want to go on the International Space Station, and I
Have you
don't
got
want
a
to pay
check?
$20 million for it.
Well, there's the problem.
Yeah.
I said to you in the beginning, if they don't pay, they don't pay attention.
Yeah. Right. Wow. That's great. So this client is still a client to
Yeah,
this day. Yep.
yeah. We don't have 93. We've got less now. Um, just purely, I suppose, because, every now and then they do a few things and then they don't want to do anything anymore. And let's be serious. I've got two businesses now. One of them is a concierge firm that basically just gives billionaires really interesting cocktail stories and makes them look more interesting. And the other one is I coach and work with entrepreneurs on how to get them out of the biggest obstacle in their life, which is usually them. So I got two different scopes that I work with now.
Right. Right. So I'm curious, what was the second story you were thinking about maybe sharing?
Well, it was the asking. That
Okay.
was the I wanted to give you the learning moment
Got
out
it.
of that story. I thought I love Florence for a start, and every time I go to Florence, I always end up going around David, and every time I walk around David, I always end up looking behind me at a crowd of about 2,000 people, thinking, I remember when I was in here with an espresso at 9 o'clock at night on my own because I owned it for 6 hours. So it's always a very nice little feeling.
Yeah, that's cool. So, um, what are some of the secrets that you have learned that maybe you share in the book or you share with your affluent clients? Like, give us a taste of a couple of the secrets of your craft or the secrets of success.
All right. Well, no. Is the short answer because I don't have any secrets. You see, here's the dumb thing. How old are you?
I'm almost 50.
Right, I'm 54 years old. So when you were 20 years old and you wanted to go and play with your mate, what did you do? You knocked on his door, or you phoned him, or maybe you sent him a fax, but you certainly didn't throw a tweet up that you were going out for a beer that night.
Yeah.
So the point is that we came from a generation where we only had like 2 or 3 ways, or 4, if you want to post him a letter, ways to communicate with someone. We've now become saturated with 1 million+ ways of connecting. How many times have you had people come up to you moaning at you because they sent you a tweet and you didn't respond?
Oh, that
Or they
just
sent
happened like 2 days ago. I don't even look
Exactly.
at my own tweets. Or, I mean, I don't even know what I'm tweeting, for one thing, because it's my team that's doing it for me. And
Right.
secondly, they don't always let me know if I get a DM from a friend or something. And this is somebody, like an acquaintance I know in my in the industry. So
Yeah.
she sent me a Facebook message, which I did see, and she said, "You didn't respond to my tweet or my DM on Twitter from 4 weeks ago. How come?" I'm like,
And that's
I
the
don't know.
dumb
I
thing.
don't look at it. I have no
Yeah,
idea
why
what's
is it
happening on Twitter.
why is it now your problem? You can. So I believe that there's no secret. There's no secret. If there was a secret, I sure shit wouldn't know what it was. I focus on stuff that works, and the only thing that works is direct communication. And communication is when I say something to you and you say something back. It's not when I go on Instagram and send you a pretty picture of a sexy girl. That's not communication. That's banner advertising. However you want to look at it, that's plastering. So what I focus on is the true art of communication. What is a relationship? How to make it a win-win? How do you communicate with someone without selling them something, but by solving everything. So the bottom line of it is, let's stop with this kind of, I communicate. It's like when you say to your team, I want to get hold of, I want to get hold of Peter Diamandis, or I want to get hold of Dave Asprey. How did you contact them? And they turn around and they go, yes, I emailed them. Emailing is not communication. It's throwing a signal at them and hoping they respond. It's the same thing as throwing a dog a bone. He may want it, he may not. Connect, relate, relationships, communications. Whatever happens in the planet, those things are still going to be required. And COVID is a prime example of something that's happened to us that's made us want more communication, made us so badly want to get together. Now, with respect, Genius Network, there's 3 events a year. I go to each one of these events. I just want to go and be able to connect with other weird wackos that do things a bit differently, And now I'm not able to. And I know everyone's going virtual, but I don't want to look at a screen and all of a sudden my dog walks behind me or farts or, I'm asked if I want a cup of coffee. I don't want the distractions. So we all yearn to connect with people. They say that COVID has stopped us connecting with people. Bullshit. We stopped connecting with people the second MySpace was invented. We started outsourcing how we connected with people. So do not buy Bluefishing, The Art of Making Things Happen, a seriously thinner book than The Art of SEO. Do not buy that book and think it's going to give you secrets. It's going to impale you with stuff that you decided doesn't work anymore, that, trust me, it does. Yeah. So there's no secret pill. It's just going to say, hey, why did you stop doing that? Why did you go invest $60,000 on a CRM program because you thought, hey, that magic pill would work? And guess what, buddy? It's not. Pick up the phone, video chat with someone, face up, start connecting rather than just shouting.
The weirdest thing is how since text messaging has really taken over, people don't phone anybody. In fact, they feel weird, like they're interrupting, so they'll text first to see if they can call them. That's just bizarre to me. I can't wrap my head around that.
But they do. They do. And that's the daft thing. Some people, the Matrix was always about the blue and the red pill.
Yeah.
Okay? One of them kept you ignorant. The other one let you see the real thing that was going on. Okay? A lot of people today, they went for the ignorant pill. I can't remember if it was the red one or the blue one, but they want to stay ignorant. Me and you, as you've just said, you look at something and you go, why are they not doing more of that? Or why are they stopping to do that? It's like when you are, like I do a lot of branding, okay? So I've spent a lot of years focusing on product placement. I can't watch a movie now without seeing where things have been product placed.
Yeah.
Where all the baddies are in, they're chasing, and they're all in like GMCs or Cadillacs, yet the evil person, they've actually got the labels removed. So it's a Mercedes, but it hasn't got the Mercedes logo on there anymore. But the GMC, they'll go, how do we get them? Let's cut them off here, and you'll see them suddenly using a sat-nav or something. Did you know that Apple, product placement for Apple? Yeah, product placement is like both of our businesses. When you're in a business, you suddenly start noticing things. Like if you go out with your mate on a Saturday afternoon and he's looking at a yellow car and you think, I haven't seen one of those, then the following day, all you ever see is yellow cars. So it's like Apple. Apple has this thing where they've announced that the baddies can never use an iPhone. So every time you see a baddie pick up a phone, it's never an Apple iPhone. It's also the glaring things with the way we communicate. You look at things and you go, why are people not communicating? You get to see what they're not doing while they've taken the ignorant pills. So there's no secret sauce that I have. I just tell people to value relationships, value being relatable, and value being true to yourself. I'm a bald British guy with piercings and tattoos and a black T-shirt. If this works for you and you can work with it, great. If not, move along. It's a filter process. I only want people in my sandpit that I can play with.
Yeah, that's a great kind of mantra or way of life. I like it. So
Sure is.
how do we get more information to our listener about how they can join your inner circle, how to sign up for your courses, get your book, all that? Where should we send
my little 2 minutes of pitch? I don't have 2 minutes. If you want to find out about me and you don't want to pay any money, that's absolutely fine. The Art of Making Things Happen, the podcast with Steve Sims. There's only one M in it. An Entrepreneur's Advantage with Steve Sims. All of these things can be found at steveDsims.com. If you want to grab the book, it's called The Art of Making Things Happen by Steve Sims, Bluefishing. If you want to have conversations with me, really get to chat with my friends, simsdistillery.com is what we call my inner circle. It brings you into a private Facebook area where we actually do a lot of live AMAs with Jay Abraham, Jim Quick, Ari Mizell, and some pretty amazing people.
That's awesome. And the Art of Making Things Happen podcast, do you have guests on those, or are those just your wisdom every episode?
It's a mixture. So we just had Sean Whalen and Quan Huynh. We've had Jay Abraham on there, Ari Mizell, Jim Quick, Jeffrey Madoff, Joe Polish. But mostly it's just me on there going, hey, I tried this in Florence and it worked. I tried this, it failed, but this is what I learned from it. So my podcasts have gone from 10 minutes to an hour and 30. So I literally just, it's me puking up from my head what's going on with some really interesting people.
Very cool. All right. Well, listener, please take some action and amaze and surprise the people you love by going above and beyond, and just simply ask for it. And we'll catch you in the next episode of Get Yourself Optimized. I'm your host, Stephan Spencer, signing off.